One of my, uh, first of all, the spring has just been a knockout. And I've had occasion to be away for the last two springs, and I had forgotten how shockingly beautiful it is with everything popping the way it is. It's just absolutely stunning. I'll do my best. If I have another spring or two, I want to make sure that I'm here for it. We've been visited by this young bear every night, comes up on our deck and presses his or her. I haven't looked underneath, I haven't gotten that close to see whether it's a he or a she, but very curious about like what's going on inside this building. It also means we can't open the screen to the deck, but it's kind of exciting. And I expect when I get back home, I'll kind of creep back up the deck, make sure I'm the only one walking up the steps. So loving this time of year here. You know, as a meditation teacher, we love to, and I love to share resources that we come across, stumble across, get turned on to that are meaningful. And we've shared throughout the years many different resources to try to support people on their way. And tonight I want to emphasize one such source. It's been mentioned here before, especially by Susan Stone when she teaches. But for those that are listening for the first time or aren't aware of it, this source can be found as a podcast, can be on YouTube. There's a website, and you can access it if you type in Wisdom of the Masters, it will probably come up. If you type in Viveka Hermitage, Viveka Hermitage, you'll get it. And let me give you a little background on this site and why it's become a lot of fun for me and other people that I know and other meditation teachers that I know. This Viveka Hermitage is basically two nuns, Theravada nuns, who live in the southern corner of New South Wales in Australia. And it's a little house they live in. They have a vast experience of practicing. They're scholars. They're really great teachers. They're in this tiny little place in the middle of nowhere, and they create these resources for everybody online. It's not a monastery, so to speak. You can't go there and practice with these people, and it's all freely offered. And what they do is they research and take, and you're going to have one experience tonight, but they'll take a master's teaching, and these could be thousands of years old, and they pull out the pith phrases, and they set it to a very beautiful meditation with plenty of spacing where you can reflect on those words. And so they've got a catalog of hundreds of these that they've put together over the years. And I'd really encourage you to check it out. I think the last time I was here, I talked about one size does not fit all. And we search around for portals that kind of turn us on or create a spark in us. And this is a great playground for anybody who's interested in practice. So tonight I want to share one of my current favorites. It's a Chinese monk called Hongzhi, and he was alive between 1091 and 1151 or 57. A very accomplished Chan master in the Song dynasty, but his texts and teachings are instrumental in Soto Zen and Chan practice today. So for the last 1,000 years, this person has been an important teacher. And what I like about his writings, and you're going to experience it in a little while, is the beauty of his poetic presentation and the metaphors that he puts forward. And one of the things we know about as a teacher and as the brain, and sometimes information gets to us through humor, maybe through poetry, maybe through some video presentation, different accesses. We're all a little different. But the poetry of this particular master, Hongzhi, I find really beautiful. And in a Buddhist sense, you could say that his work, his poetry, his presentation supports wise view. Now, that's one of the path factors. And you might consider it, no, you could consider it maybe the most important path factor, because if you don't have a little bit of wise view in the beginning, coming from somewhere inside you, you're never going to do anything. You're not going to explore anything. You're not going to practice anything. And so all of you here tonight have that already. There's something in you. It's like, I want to check out, what's the deal with this life? What's this about? How does this come about? What's possible? And so that's kind of an initial wise view. And that's still a pretty small percentage of people who have the good fortune to be in a position where they can explore that, or the inclination. Most people don't. I mean, you read the newspapers, there's a lot going on in the world where people are not exploring wisdom and compassion in any kind of manifested depth. So that's the initial kind of opening. And then as you learn, or as you practice or find your portal or your way, you reflect, you investigate, you practice certain things, and you learn to internalize a little more deeply the impermanence that we've been born into. Everywhere we look, every aspect of our lives, that becomes more a sense of who we are, our view, our wise view. And in practice, especially Buddhist practice, you learn the deeper nuances of suffering. How do we suffer? What can we do to reduce that or eliminate it? What's all this business about grasping and pushing away as causes of suffering? Where does compassion, equanimity come in? And as practice deepens, there are moments where there's an experience of this kind of ultimate selflessness of practice, of creation. And there are these moments of this kind of an intimate, undivided, unified nature of everything that can be directly experienced. You might call that glimpses of the truth, whatever, but there are moments, it's kind of bada bing, bada boom, all of a sudden everything opens. There's not you, there's no inside, there's no outside. It just is. There's this being for a moment. And then we'll probably coalesce back to like, oh, what do I have to do? All these things, blah, 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 my aching body, whatever the thing is. But there are glimpses and moments of the truth through many different practices. So as you listen, and we're going to listen to the words of Hongzhi, just relax with a alert, receptive countenance. That's all. Allow the words to wash through. try not to get stuck on something like, what does that mean? You know, what in the world is that? You know, and you'll find certain phrases will be, oh, I get it. That's so on. And other phrases you go, what? What? You know, but just let it all wash through. And afterwards, we'll have a discussion of some of these phrases. So without further ado, we bring you Hongzhi from the 10th century. So I thought I'd pull out a few of these phrases and comment on them. The very first opening, and the nuns call this piece "Serenity is the final word." But the very first opening, where he says, "Withdraw now from the invisible pounding and weaving of your ingrained ideas." Invisible pounding and weaving of your ingrained ideas. It's just a terrific metaphor for the activities of our mind. How they just kind of solidify around something. We have some answer, or there's right, there's wrong, there's, you know. And yes, we do have to make decisions in life. We have to make our best guess on what's an appropriate response in situations, whether it's environmentally, politically, etc. And we're always operating from a small amount of information, but we do the best we can. But that metaphor of withdrawing, the grasping and attaching of the mind onto ideas, things that we like, self-righteous kind of indignation that we can easily get into. Withdrawing from that, withdrawing from the thrashing around that we do when we're experiencing something that's unpleasant. You know, that's what he's after here. And the Buddha also warned us. He would admonish his students to kind of watch out for the tangle of views. We get just kind of wrapped around in a tangle of all our views of everything. And then those moments when we can relax out of that, kind of the don't know mind, is kind of peaceful, you know. And then, of course, it'll all come up again, but there are moments. And then another line near the beginning, if you want to be rid of this invisible turmoil, you must just sit through it and let go of everything. So in there, he's really encapsulating the whole practice in a way, I should say this, the initial stages of practice, where we're doing our best to sit with whatever phenomena is arising, whatever the emotion is, the physical situation, what we consider internal, external, sitting with it with as much equanimity and compassion as possible. You know, allowing it to kind of move through, not grasping or pushing away. And another one that I particularly like is the poetic phrase where he says, "Wander into the center of the circle of wonder." Wander into the center of the circle of wonder. That just elicits a kind of childlike openness that's possible at any age. And there's joy in what Hongzhi was expressing. He says, sing before the spirits and dance with the earth deities. That is like kind of Yahoo, kind of beautiful. It's not a kind of grinding grimness. It's kind of like, wow. In those moments of experiencing everything. The two phrases that I like the best, and the reason that I brought this whole thing forward tonight, serenity is the final word of all the teachings. Reflection is the response to all manifestations. All right, so serenity is the final word of all the teachings. Really, all the spiritual paths and religion, they're positing different ways to kind of come home to that peace and serenity. That's really it. That's what's in common of all this exploration that we've done as humans since we've come down out of the trees and walked around and spread all over the place. There's been a number of us that are just very interested in that. That serenity is the final word of all the teachings. There's those moments of felt intimacy. And that's the intimacy with everything. We know what that's like. Sometimes it hits us because of conditions around us. Sometimes it just wells up from everywhere. Now, the second phrase that followed that one, reflection is the response to all manifestations. What in the world is that? Reflection is the response to all manifestations. At first, it seems a little obtuse. But here's my take on it, and you might have a different take on it. You probably would. So, manifestations, appearances, the arising of everything through our senses, everything we smell, taste, touch, everything we think. A way that is looked at in the kind of the core of the many of the or all of the wisdom traditions, that it's like waves in the ocean. You've heard it before. There is this oceanic consciousness, awareness, source. And out of that, there's what's commonly known as me or you or the trees or these pews or atoms or whatever it is. And so as there is a reflection and on these appearances or manifestations, that's the investigation part of practice, where it's like, okay, and sometimes we prompt ourselves on this kind of, on a crude level, there are atoms swirling around, subatomic particles, energy, light, and that's everything. That's happening, that's everything. We know that in science with the kind of instrumentation that we now have. And so reflecting on whatever the manifestations is, comes to like, well, I'm not different than you. I'm not different than anything. You know, we're all the ocean. And in those moments when we can like kind of be a little in awe of that, there is no separation. You know, why would I ever want to harm you when we're all the same? We know it scientifically, and these wisdom teachings have been kind of knocking us on the head for thousands of years, saying, well, if you get relaxed and you can reside in some silence, this opens up. Whatever you're doing, you're doing a mantra or whatever your practice might be, you kind of stabilize the mind. Then you investigate, you reflect on, well, what's self? What's not self? What's self other? And Hongzhi is kind of throwing little pebbles in the pond and hoping for ripples in his students. So reflection is a response to all manifestations. And out of that reflections, there can be and is and will be, with enough investigation and reflection, little openings that happen, glimpses into that ocean and a direct experience. Another line he uses, looking closely, things become spacious. You know, everything dissolving into smaller and smaller elements until there's no diversity. You know. So these wisdom teachings, they're really just pointing out instructions. And it's not paint by number, but it's like, try that on for a second. Try that on for a second, you know. Feeling deeply, life becomes vibrant. Life's vibrancy is bright of itself. This brightness reveals the wonder. So it's pointing to that felt sense of vibrancy of all creation. And with that, there's a kind of jump in resolution and brightness and vibrancy when we can relax into that. And really, in those moments, we're awestruck. And whether it's opening to the spring that's upon us here in this paradise, the opening of a flower, an ant crawling, I mean, it all becomes vibrant, and we'll notice, if we're lucky, that the separation has dissolved for some moments. We're not at war with ourselves. We're not at war with the world. Another one I kind of like, and it may not land for you, is endless kalpas are utterly empty, and all is totally the same. Now, a kalpa is a kind of unmeasurable amount of time, and you'll see it in certain scriptures. There is, you know, a million kalpas or this or that or the other thing. But I think what he's pointing out, what Hongzhi is pointing out 1,000 years ago, is that the idea of time and space also dissolves. And it's back into that oceanic concept. the undiverse, undifferentiated everything is not affected by anything. That's the kind of ground that has no bounds. And yeah, there's all kinds of things going on, and we can be up here in the area of wave action, and there's history, and there's comings and goings, or it's perceived, because we perceive in time and space. But what Hongzhi is saying, well, maybe not. Maybe it's all here and it's all now. Just do a couple more. When wonder dwells within the stillness, striving is forgotten within the brightness. What is this wonder? Truly seeing the subtlest thing, it is set free. When we get quiet enough and relaxed, there are moments when we're not doing, we're just being. The striving is temporarily lost. Even if we start out with, well, I'm going to meditate and I want to get quiet and I want to feel peace and this and that. When there's some relaxation and stillness, we might notice, I don't want anything. I don't need anything. It's all here. It's perfect, okay, for some moments. Near the end of that piece that was put together by those two nuns, they pulled this out of Hongzhi's teachings. There is utterly no way to study this matter. The essence lies in emptying and opening body and mind so that they are as vast as space. Then you will naturally be complete everywhere. The essence lies in emptying and opening body and mind so that they are as vast as space. Then you will naturally be complete everywhere. So when we sit and get a little bit quiet and we perceive awareness, what seems to be inside the body, and we allow that awareness to move a little bit into the space in front of us, behind us, right, left, up, down. This perceived skin thins out, and pretty soon it's like, whoa, you know. Emptying and opening the body and mind so that they're as vast as space for some moments. And then we have to get in our car and drive home, you know, maybe watch the Boston Celtics later tonight or something. There's one line, let's see if I can find it here. In that website, they'll give you a transcript of all these things also, if you find one that you like. Let's see. Maybe I can't locate it. Okay, I can't find the other one. It's something about when you're open, you're perceiving before birth and after the skin bag, meaning death, that there isn't a differentiation. So I'll end with this one piece. The important function for Buddha after Buddha, and the pivotal moment for ancestor after ancestor, is to know it without stirring anything up, and to be illumined without setting up an opposite. When one knows it without stirring anything up, such knowing is naturally humble. So I hope something has been useful for you this evening. And I really encourage you to explore this website because it's absolutely mind-blowing in what these two humble nuns have put together from this little cabin in the woods in southern Australia to share. And if Hongzhi's not your cup of tea, there's like 30 or 40 other masters to explore.